Welcome into the Cam and Strick podcast, episode number 5. What up, Cam?
What up? Normal brand, hanging out.
That's where we're at. And looking forward to bringing you another episode of the pod. This one's going to be fun. You talk about a guy who I've known for a long time. I know you have as well. You played with him for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Or was it a couple months?
It was a couple months.
Yeah, it could have been a couple
I got
minutes.
traded here in February, and we played till April.
Jamal
we didn't
Mayers,
make the playoffs.
Jamal Mayers, ladies man.
Oh, God. When he walks into a place, everybody stops and looks at him. A, because he dresses like $1 trillion.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got this, everything fits perfectly on him.
He had a suit company for a while.
He looks good. He looks good on TV, too. So anytime he walks in anywhere, guys and gals stop what they're doing and look
He had a long career, played over 900 games. And you know what? I'm always cautious when I say, certain players played over 900 games because in reality, he probably would have played well over 1,000. He had some injuries where he missed significant time. He was a healthy scratch late in his career for a number of games as well.
Yeah.
I mean, his career games played list would have been well over 1,000 games. He played for a long, long time.
And he went through kind of a weird time when he left the Blues too, and he went into that with Toronto a little bit, then kind of struck gold going to Chicago, and he gets into winning the Stanley Cup as well. So he's had a hell of a career. Great guy. He does a lot of great work in Chicago too, and of course he breaks down games like no other. And he looks handsome doing it.
Really intelligent. I've done a ton of radio with him.
Yes.
I mean, Jammer and I always had a great relationship when he was a player. Kind of like followed his entire career. I came in as a young reporter when he was here, kind of establishing himself still as an NHL player. But he played with some great players when you think about it. I mean, here he played with the players you guys know who he played with. But then he went on to play with guys like Jerome McGinley, Joe Thornton, Patrick Marleau, Logan Couture. He played with Taves and Kane and Keith and Seabrook and all these guys.
He also played on some shitty teams in St. Louis as well. Yeah. Remember when they went through that funk where it was like 3 or 4 years after 2003 the lockout, and I remember coming here when I played for the Devils and playing against Jammer, and there's 12,000 people here, so he's been through a lot of ups and downs with this organization.
He scored 15 goals that year.
He did. I know. He's getting a lot of ice time. He probably had the most skill on the team.
I always remind him that he was the extra attacker. There's a couple goals I remember him scoring. We talked about this on the radio, and I didn't bring this up during the interview, but one time it was Brett Hull night, and the Blues got up to a 3-0 lead. He scored one of the goals against Dominic Hasek against the Red Wings, just flying down the right wing. Because Jammer could skate.
He could skate.
He could absolutely fly. And I've never seen him shoot the puck as hard as he did.
Slap shot
under the bar, just blew it past Dominic Hasek.
I think I know that goal.
But then there was another goal, and it was Brett Hull night. You can't forget about it. Mm-hmm. But there was another goal in 2005-2006 season where he was actually the extra attacker. He came out on the ice. They tied the game up. But I had a bet on radio that year with somebody that he would score 15 goals, and he did.
He probably had 15 fights, too.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I remember, and one last thing before we get into the interview here, I used to skate with Jammer when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. I'd go out and he'd come out and skate with us at Kirkwood and things like that. And he was one of those guys that when he came on the ice for the first time, and I'm not hanging out with NHL guys. It's like I'm 16, 17. I'm just going to juniors. And he'd come skate with us, and all of a sudden he walks in the locker room. He's put together like no other. Then he goes on the ice, and he did this move where he fakes a slap shot. He kind of, I don't know. I can't even explain. TJ Oshie used to do it all the time too, and he kind of kicks it back to himself. And we're like, what? He just showed off and came out there and was real nice to everybody. So I immediately got connected with him, and he's a great guy. He's got some good stuff. We got Jamal Mayers coming your way. Cam and Strick podcast.
Looking forward to it. And he's one of those guys, and there's been other players too. All you have to do is skate with them once or twice, and then you're like, okay, this is why they're in the National Hockey League.
He's an NHL
you may think,
guy.
oh, this guy wasn't a great NHL player.
Dude,
but
he's a hell of an athlete, is what he is. So you could tell when he skates.
Yeah, enjoy this conversation.
Right on.
Welcome back into the Cam and Strick podcast. Cam is officially the least good-looking person here in the room right now, officially, okay?
Jammer's a handsome fella.
He's brought it up a notch.
He knows how to dress. He does his thing. I know. Anytime, though, I did play with Jammer for a little bit here, and you were the best dressed on the team. Let's be honest here. I couldn't keep up with you, but boy, oh boy, I watch you and I envy you.
You know what? You have to be good at something, and when you're not playing as much as you really want to, I wanted to figure out that look good, feel good, play good. I just couldn't get down the other last two.
Yeah, welcome to my world.
Yeah, we're at this Normal brand here in Ladue. Always good to be here. And Cam just went shopping this morning. You bought like 6 of the same thing.
I'm balling.
You need a stylist. You got 6 of the same thing.
No, I didn't.
Yes.
No, I'm going to have an awesome rotation. And Jammer, actually, we'll get Jammer's idea on this too. I'll show you what I got, but I think it's great. Normalbrand.com, by the way. Check them out. They got great stuff.
Yep.
As usual. Jammer, man, welcome to the podcast. Appreciate you coming in here. You live kind of right down the road. I know you travel a lot, but give us a little schedule on what you're doing right now.
Yeah, so basically, I live here and we have 3 kids. My daughters are 14 and 11. Big into soccer and basketball this time of year, and my little guy crew will be 7 in a couple weeks, so busy coaching his hockey, 2 different teams, and working in Chicago for the Hawks, doing stuff in the community with kids, and also doing NBC Sports Chicago pre and post game show. There's probably like 3 or 4 analysts, myself, Patrick Sharp, Adam Burish, and Steve Conroy.
So that is.
It's been fun.
Anywhere Patrick Sharp is, I'm like, what? I'm just not going to stand next to him. I'm not going to stand next to him.
It's unbelievable. The guy walks off the ice, skates off the ice right into the booth, and less than a year later, he's doing interviews on main channel NBC with Mike Tirico. So he's transitioned so well. Envious. It seems like these guys that can score goals, make all the money, and have the good looks.
Seamless.
It's makes you a little jealous.
When you were a player, like some media, they were like intimidated by Jamal Mayers. They didn't know if they could talk to him, and I'd always
He had a temper. Well,
no,
he had a little temper sometimes.
No, he just was like when he was at the rink, like he was kind of all business. But Jammer and I always had a good relationship, and I used to tell the other media, like, no, he's a great guy. But did you envision yourself being in the media? I felt like you didn't love the media when you played.
No, I think that I was probably always pretty cautious what I was saying, and I think if you could keep that distance, maybe create a persona that they didn't want to be around you, it was a good thing. I think that, I'm shocked. Honestly, I thought I'd stay in the game in some respect. I didn't know it would be as an analyst, but you know what? A coach, you have to be at the rink at 7. You don't get done in a home game. You're home at 11:30. Having kids, that wasn't for me. And so being a part of the game on the TV side of things is nice because I'm not necessarily emotionally attached. I want the team to win and do well, and I want my buddies to play well and have success. But, when you're a player, and you know this as well, Cam, when you're losing, it stinks. It's hard to come to the rink. And as an analyst, I hope
Jammer,
they do well, but that's it.
You got a good job, dude. Come on, let's be honest here.
Yeah, no,
Staying in nice hotels, you still get to come back and do your thing. Like you got a good gig going. But you played in the league 15 years, man. Like, good Lord.
Yeah.
You did it all. You won a cup. Like, I will say this real quick. I remember getting traded here. You were on the team. And our first practice, Andy Murray was out there, right? And he would always blow the whistle, and everybody had to come to him, and the last guy would skate around. First practice, we did that. He gets me, skate around 100 miles an hour, like, yeah, all right, I'm going to spray the guys with a nice stop. And I cruise all the way around, and I try to stop, and I fall, and I go right in your ankle. Almost killed you. I'm like, oh my god, I just killed you. Like, your Achilles heel, donezo. So sorry about that, bro.
Oh no, it was
great intro.
A great introduction. It was hilarious. We were loving it.
Did you want to kill him or no?
Oh no.
Oh, he was laughing.
We were all laughing.
Well, his feet were still there.
That's how he tore his ACL, right? Because Dallas Drake fell under your knee.
Oh Jesus!
Come
Why
on.
did you bring up?
Not even.
Making sure it
Grandma
wasn't a
died too.
serious
Talk about
situation.
Not even close to the same thing. That was pretty funny.
But leave it to Cam to do that.
I'm an idiot.
That's great.
Whatever. So playing in St. Louis, man, like, my gosh, you get drafted there. First off, you went to Western Michigan.
Yeah.
You're an OHL boy. I can't believe you didn't play juniors. How'd that all go down?
Well, my mom, a single parent, and I was drafted in the 7th round to Kingston, and realized that I was a decent player at that age, at 15, I think it was. But playing the NHL wasn't even in my horizon. But
really?
Yeah, it wasn't at all. And for me, it was about could I get a scholarship? Could I get my education out of this? So I played Tier 2 Junior A for Thornhill Thunderbirds, and kind of a funny story. When I got my scholarship, there Western Michigan was in not Andy Murray, but Bill Wilkinson rather was in my living room and basically offered me a full ride. And at that time, I was only going through my first year junior. I still had another year junior that I could stay for, but they wanted me to kind of fast track high school and go as a 17-year-old, which I ended up doing. But at that time, I was only slightly being recruited until the season started, and other teams were like, wait a second, you already committed to Western? Well, the reason was because Bill Wilkinson was in our living room, and my mom, he said that I'll get a full ride. Before I could get a word out, my mom stood up and shook his hand and said, he'll see you in September. And so things
really
worked
cool.
out, but it's funny how that happened.
Why did you think the NHL wasn't in your horizon?
Well, you get picked in the 7th round when you're that young. I mean, I did tell schools, teams I was going to school, but I wasn't a first-round pick, so I think the thought process was, I wasn't one of those highly touted players. I played AA all the way till I was 15. Wanted to play AAA for the Young Nats and the Don Mills Flyers. I played 1 year AAA in Bantam. They wouldn't give me my transfer. And at that time, I was a good player. I would say one of the top 3 or 4 players on our team at Don Mills, but certainly didn't warrant not allowing me to switch teams. But that was the rule back then. So I had no team until November. A family friend suggested I start skating with Thornhill Thunderbirds, and 4 weeks later I still didn't have a release, and the coach said, actually, why don't you just play for our team? So I didn't play midget and ended up playing tier 2.
So were you big back then? I mean, you're a big guy. You're 6'1", 6'2",
Yeah.
You're 220, you're jacked. I mean, I'll keep going.
I wish I was 220.
I'm just saying. Well, you're probably 235 now. So am I. Don't worry. So am I. Don't worry about it. But I'm saying, like, you're a great skater. You got hands. Like, how'd you not get noticed? How'd you not think that you were above anybody else? And were you just kind of getting going?
Yeah, I was a late bloomer, and I was
Okay.
small growing up.
So was Andy.
Grade 9, I was probably 5'4". Like I was I was a small kid.
5'4". I hear that all the time.
And so
guys who are 5'4", all of a
5'4".
sudden they're like 6'2", 12 months later. Like, how's that happen?
220 jacked. Like, whoa.
Exactly.
God.
So yeah, it took me a while. I think I was 180 maybe that year, 5'11", 180 my first year, tier 2. So yeah, I think that working out a lot and getting in the gym, and it finally paid off.
So you come to St. Louis. You guys had a young team, right, when you first got here? I mean, you had some veteran guys, don't get me wrong, but it seemed like a lot of you guys came into the NHL at the same time. You guys had fun back then, didn't you?
I don't know if we had a young team. I remember when Keenan was here, it was impossible. We had like all these guys over 35, and I was in the minors thinking, this isn't going to happen.
98? Was it 98?
Yeah, 98 was my
Okay.
first full year. That's right. And then, but my first full year pro was 96. That was Keenan's time here. And, I was trying to, how it is. You're trying to make the lineup and figure out how you're going to fit in. And, I come from college and I had over a point a game in college. You think you're going to be one of the top line guys. There wasn't room for that. And I learned quickly, having never been in a fight up until my first year pro, that I needed to be physical. I needed to win faceoffs and kill penalties and find a niche to somehow get in the league and stay.
So yeah, you're right. You never fought. You went going to college, like you're pushing guys around, but no one's going toe to toe. Let's be honest here. And if you do it, if you get in one fight, like you're gone for. So you consistently you didn't do it, but now you're in NHL. And now you're playing a little physical. And back in the 90s, too, when there was monsters roaming everywhere, the wild, wild west, were you a little intimidated? Were you like, or did your adrenaline take you like, okay, I don't care. Let's just go play. If I got to suck it up, I'll fight anybody.
I certainly didn't want to fight the heavyweights, and that wasn't necessarily my fight. I was happy to say no, that wasn't going to happen. And some guys like yourself, they didn't mind getting punched. My goal was not to get punched.
It's a great idea, by the way. It's a great idea, by the way.
But absolutely, there's no question about it. It was. I think that anxiety and that fear helped you in the fight, and I kind of fought more of a defensive style. But I don't know how you did it. I think that I have a lot of respect for guys like yourself who had to fight when they weren't angry. And what I mean by that, for me, there was 3 reasons to fight: change momentum, stick up for a teammate, or just because.
Or you're pissed.
And for me, it was always an emotional response to something. For yourself, Cam, I know there's probably instances where you looked at the lineup the night before, you don't have anything against a certain guy in the other lineup, and you realize I got to fight this guy.
I never had. No, I liked them all. They're all actually very respectable, to be honest. After they beat you to a pulp. But no, the lead up to it was very difficult. But you also had some big guys too on your team.
Oh yeah, I'll never
like,
forget Twister and Chaser. Twister, my first game, in fact, told me that he said, "Hey kid, you got diplomatic plates on tonight."
Diplomatic.
And I was like, oh, so that means I can do whatever I want. This guy's gonna. And then I realized, wait a second. I sat in my stall and I said, but he might not be here in a couple of years. And I'm going to have to answer to these monsters. I better tone it down. So,
Or he might be a healthy scratch.
yeah, exactly.
He was crazy though, huh?
Oh, he would not get in a fight, and he would go back in the room. And back then, our weight room wasn't too big, but he'd put 315 or whatever it was on
During the game.
Twister.
like right after the game, because no one would fight him, and he'd bench like as many times as he could. And I'd get a peek in there, and I'd be like, and then when he'd get in a fight on the ice, honestly, he's swinging the guy around, and as his teammate, even you just don't want him to make contact with the guy because you figure he's going to break his face and it's going to be ugly.
The game's changed a little bit.
Yeah.
That, but no, Twister's scarier
But
now
I
than
saw
any
a fight
time.
the other day. There was a fight online his rookie
The American
year
League. Oh, against Berube.
against Berube.
Berube pumped him.
He did. Like Twister became scarier and scarier throughout.
He got
his
bigger
career.
and bigger.
He started to fight like Donkey Kong, where his hands were he would just pummel you into the ice.
He didn't have his coordination like his foot.
Has there ever been a guy who you've seen that as scary as him?
Well, you just mentioned one. I mean, like Cam said, hit it on the head. Every team had one. I mean, they were monsters.
Yeah.
They were out there for one reason. They were scary, and I think the toughest guy I ever fought was probably Bashir.
Oh.
And I might have slipped on something, a banana peel early on in the fight.
Whoopsies.
That's never happened when you're
Whoopsies.
giving it to someone in it.
Oh my God.
So, but I wasn't ashamed. I started the fight. It happened, and I got out of there quick.
Were you expected to fight though when you first came in? Because
No.
it wasn't like that's why you made the team.
No. I was more of an energy guy, kill penalties, take face-offs, and I think over the course of your career, you try to find a way to stay, try to find a way to survive. And for me, if you showed a willingness to do it, and I think in the minors, this is what I noticed, and I'm sure you did too, Cam, is that in the minors, it seemed like there were 6 or 7 or 8 willing guys to fight. It was harder to do it there than in the NHL. In the NHL, I realized 2 or 3 years in, there's only 2 guys on any lineup that might even actually. Everyone else is scared.
Yeah.
So that you can use to your advantage as well. So I think it just kind of happened.
And those 2 are already taken care of by your 2 guys. So now it's like,
Exactly.
who's next? And I can go do what I got to do. I guess, keep talking about this. You bring Twister up, though, Andy. I bet you if I asked Jammer right now, the next scary guy would be that you had to play against would probably be Derek Bugard. Would be the next big boy that, at least for me,
You play against Probert?
Yes, I did.
at his end of his career, right? I mean,
Yeah, at the end of his career. I mean, still I
scary,
would
though.
not
It says
want to.
Probert on the back of the jersey.
no
That's scary
doubt.
enough.
But in Chicago, it's a Chicago. It's not that Red Wings, I don't know.
He was scary even back in the day in Chicago, though. Early.
Yeah, he knocked out Scott Parker hardcore.
Colton Orr, I played with him in Toronto. They used to have a myth that he had like metal in his fist, which wasn't true, but.
You sure? You sure about that? Okay. You sure about that?
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny. There was a lot of tough guys like that.
Do people they recognize you around town still?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
And are they like, what, you still live here?
How can you not?
He did my
Yeah.
radio show a few weeks ago, and people say, hey, does he still live here, or was he just in town? Like, people forget that you actually live here in St. Louis. This is your home.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, this is a place. My wife's from St. Louis. This is where we want to raise our kids. We love it here. It's got a great pace. You want the energy of a sports town. They have that. I think that people are very respectful and nice. And I mean, I'm not even close to the level, but I do tell people the story, how Wayne has a place here, and there's a reason, because I'm sure it's the same experience for him. And when he goes places, people here in town are so respectful and nice.
Oh,
and
yeah.
if they say hi, it's cool. They want to talk to you, but they leave it at that. And if they can tell you that you're in a hurry, or it's not like other places. It's a special place.
I think they recognize you more than Wayne probably here. Don't tell him I said that.
I don't know about
Don't
that.
tell him I said that. But I'm serious. Like when you play here, I mean, you played here for a long, long time, man. I mean, you really did.
It's not like I changed my hairstyle.
No.
So,
No, but you had little stripes in your eyebrows one year. I
Yeah.
remember
You
that.
don't like when we bring
never lived
up.
that down.
I'm sorry.
That was the first year I covered the Blues.
Oh, really?
First year in the playoffs. Yeah, they had the stripes.
It's what you get for supporting your teammates. The
So
guys
what-
who were on a Hanley,
Who
they're all
started
going to
that?
dye their hair. I don't know. I think it was Prongs and Conroy.
Craig Conroy.
Who else was doing it? A few other guys. So I thought, I can't do that. I'll go with you guys and watch you idiots dye your hair. And then the ladies there are like, oh, I could stripe it for you. And everyone thought I shaved it, but it was actually dyed like blonde stripes.
Tiger stripes on the eyebrow.
This is the funniest story. So we get to San Jose, and Jimmy Mayer,
Oh, yeah, Jimmy.
our security guy, awesome dude.
Awesome.
He's like, you can't leave the hotel. I'm like, why? He's like, That's like part of a gang here in this area. That's their symbol. They shave it, but it looks like that. So I was scared shitless. I went down to the local Walgreens and bought like whatever Grecian formula, whatever it is, to dye it back to a darker color so that I could actually go out for dinner and walk around. We were there for a
Jammer.
week. It's a playoffs.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I tell you what, I dyed my hair back in the day, and I think that was like one of the worst mistakes I've ever made, because I think my hair fell out because of all the chemicals I put in it over the years. And like juniors, when you're dyeing it every damn day, you're like, okay. So that kind
And then they lost.
I got a sponsor
Then
for that
they
now.
lost in the first round of 7. That was the
I remember
weirdest
that.
playoff series I've ever seen, though, man. I mean, crazy stuff happened throughout that series.
Yeah, I was unfortunate. I mean, we win the President's Trophy
yeah.
and face, San Jose, and, anything from pucks going in off the back of the goaltender to
Mark
guys
Bergevin
throwing
threw the puck in the net.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah.
I remember that.
What? Did
Yeah.
he really just do that?
Yeah.
Oh, and no one scored from center ice. That was
That was a bad one.
that was a tough one.
Turek, yep.
Yeah.
That was tough. I think I remember. I think that was it. The Post that put a picture after you guys won a President's Trophy that said, of all you guys kind of celebrating, and says "Place Cup here." I remember something.
Oh, really?
Something like that. Maybe it wasn't the Post. Maybe it was somewhere else. But I remember it kind of blew up a little bit. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's not good. And if it is what it is.
But we learned from it. I think
Yeah.
that next year, I believe we lost in the semifinals to Colorado. So we took a step forward. I think it was just unfortunate. We were right there. Those 3 years, there was a window there. We had a chance, and didn't get it
Pronger,
done.
McKinnis playing 40 minutes
Yeah,
a night,
exactly.
doing their thing. Yeah,
Exactly.
you ran into Detroit, Colorado, like teams like that. They were really good at the time too. It was tough.
How much fun did you guys have, though? Like when Keith Kachuk got here and Doug away. I mean, you guys
my.
you had some real personalities on that team.
Oh, it was hilarious. And I think that part of that, I feel bad for the guys playing today. I don't think they have as much fun. And I just think back to like the team parties Dougie Waite would host, whether it was Halloween, which is coming up here, obviously, and everybody would bring their wives, and we'd all dress up. And there's no offense, but it's not at a bar where anybody's going to see you, so we can kind of show a personality and joke around and all be together. And I don't think teams do that as much as they used to. They go to a bar to have these types of parties. I'm like, why would you want to be around other people?
It's not intimate.
So that was the part you miss, even leaving here, and you realize how special it was around certain guys. And we were guys, that team that grew together, that stuck together, that had a common goal. And we didn't get it done, but we had some fun while we were trying.
So you play for the Blues for a long, long time, and then you kind of bounce around a little bit. And then you get to Chicago. But when you were bouncing around, were you a little at that point? You're like, oh, things are starting to slow down a little bit. You get a little worried, like, damn, I gotta find my groove here. I gotta kind of reinvent myself a little bit, and you did.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was frustrating, to be honest, because I signed a 3-year deal with the caveat and intention that, oh, your wife's from here, let's stay here, and then I get traded a year later. But you know what? I had told my wife that, honestly, it was my 12th year in the organization, my 10th year playing as a Blue, and it was in the summer. And I remember telling her maybe a year before that the reality is that if I play as long as I'd like to, we've been very fortunate to play in one place. We're going to make it up on the back end. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened, having played for 4 teams after that in a matter of 5 years. So it was a tough pill to swallow. I thought it was going to be a great opportunity to go home to Toronto to play.
That's David Clarkson.
That did not
Did you
work
like
out.
playing there?
No, it was terrible because for whatever reason, maybe partly my play, partly not getting along with Ron Wilson.
You weren't the only one, though.
And so, it was just frustrating, especially that second year. We go 0-9-2, and I'm a healthy scratch for 11 games.
In a row?
I think you might want to mix it up a little
Oh,
bit.
my God.
Depressing.
Yeah.
Isn't that the word? 9 games in a row,
Yeah.
too. And
So-
up there, was it tough?
And I got my
Do you want
family and
everything?
friends.
I know.
They're like, they don't get to see you much because you play in the West your whole career. So they're like, I thought you were a decent player. You can't even play on this team, and they're terrible. So it was
9 in a
tough.
row. Taking
I asked Brian Burke about that a few weeks ago, about him trading you, so at least he did you a favor and got you out of there, right?
Oh, absolutely. He was, you know what? I got along great with Berkey. I've had a few candid conversations with him over the years. I have a ton of respect for his hockey acumen, the way he sees the game. And, I think he has an approach that works for him and that he commands respect. And, you love playing for someone like that.
Do you think guys like playing in Toronto? I mean, it just seems like everybody I've known who's come here from there or who I've known who has gone there really hasn't enjoyed their experience. I mean, it can't be an easy place to play in the National Hockey League. I mean, where you can't go anywhere, you can't hide in a city like that.
Yeah, that part could be hard. I mean, at the end of the day, you just get used to it. You have a routine, and you stick to your routine in your little places and things like that. But I think it could also, if you're winning, it could be the best place. If you're losing, it could be the worst. So I think that if you're a competitor and you're a guy who wants to be on top of that mountain, that would be an unbelievable place to do it.
Yeah, well, they haven't been successful, and and there's people everywhere. I mean,
that's Cam's analysis.
I'm just well, they haven't been. Well, they're soft this year too. Don't get me started on that. I've kind of forced to watch the Leafs all the time now. And
but what team is? I mean, most teams kind of play that way.
I can give you a couple examples right now, but I think the Blues as a whole are pretty tough, and they stick up for each other and they play a hard game. The Leafs are on the other end of that spectrum. Yeah. But whatever. It's about you today, Jamal Mayers, and I'll tell you this.
I could talk about the Blues too. I agree with you. I think the game. We had all this talk and all this attention to getting faster and smarter. And at the end of the day, the game regresses 5-6 years to what the rules and the way it was played in the playoffs. And you have to have what's most attractive to me about the Blues is the defense core. They have big, mean defensemen that are hard to play against, that aren't going to take it easy on you. And that goes even for Petro. He plays hard. And he's probably the least physical.
He'll whack you in the back of the leg, though. He'll two-hand you in the
Absolutely.
back.
I think that you have to have that. You have to have that balance. And, as fast as the game gets, the game really offensively is played below the hash marks. And you need guys who can create offense off of that. It's not always going to be rush chances.
No, because how do we get away from that, though? Because, I remember asking Chris Pronger, this is like 3 or 4 years ago, like, couldn't you still play an intimidating style? And he said, hey, if he ran a team, he would just intimidate the hell out of the opposition. And he said, you know what, I know we'd have success because you can scare teams easier now than ever.
Absolutely.
And in a way, we saw that last year in the playoffs, just the way the Blues played. Everyone talks about them playing heavy and whatever. They just took on a personality of their coach, they went balls to the wall every single shift and played harder than any team that they faced in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Got suspended a couple times because they were a little edgy on different things with Sundqvist and Barbashev, but holy cow, they beat the shit out of teams.
They don't play that way, do they? Teams don't want to play that way.
Oh, no, think about it. That's why you see guys that are having success like Tom Wilson, and you see Matthew Tkachuk. They're how many are there that do that? And
even Reaver's still kicking around doing his thing.
Exactly. Yes. And there's a reason, because they can still play the game and provide offense and provide this element that is non-existent. And I think that you're talking about that. I think you're talking about the Leafs and that big hit against Matthews the other night. There's nobody there to respond.
It looked real bad. The optics look bad on that. And you don't, and I say this, like, you don't need to, Matthews doesn't need to jump the guy. Matthews doesn't need to cold cock the guy. There's ways to show your emotion and show that you're pissed, that you're sticking up for your teammate without getting a penalty. All you got to do is stand there and grab him by the throat, like, no, let's go, and challenge him. And if he skates away, then you kind of chirp their bench. I mean, there's just ways to do it, and when you just don't do anything.
Yeah. Perfect example the other day when Binnington got into it.
Exactly.
And you had Sundqvist and Barbashev just get in right away. And there's no gloves on the ice. No one's fighting, right?
But it was the pack mentality. Yeah. And I think that team toughness is important. I think that, you see that on the bench as a teammate, and you even see it more importantly. What I think of all the time when you don't respond appropriately is that don't kid yourself. Forget the other team that you're playing against. There's 28 other teams, 29 other teams that are watching saying, I can't wait to play this team.
I'm going to step up every single time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of teams, you played on an unbelievable team in Chicago. You go in 2013, you find a role, you go to that unbelievable city on that unbelievable team. Just take us through that and the winning the Stanley Cup and just living the life in that awesome town.
Yeah, we had a great time. I think that our team had struggled. Well, they had won the cup in 2010. 2011 was a bad year for them, obviously, because they had to change a lot of their team with the salary cap and what have you. And then I got there in 2012. We ended up losing, unfortunately, to Phoenix. And it's almost like that summer, the team got, we ended up having a lockout and everything. But when we got started, we went on a roll. We hadn't lost a game in 24. So very few teams to start the season that way. We knew we had something special. And I think the group was kind of, wanted to make good on the season that we had. We ended up winning the President's Trophy and roll into the playoffs. It wasn't easy, but what an amazing ride it was to be a part of. And our best players showed up in the biggest moments. Our goaltender played unbelievably well, and we ended up beating a great team in the Boston Bruins in the final. So, and then winning the cup and bringing it back here to St. Louis, to Children's Hospital, traveling around all the little places, Sportsman's Park, and all the places we used to go. So we had a ton of fun.
Gosh almighty. Had to take that bad boy all the way back here.
I call his cup party, by the way, Alex Brooks, great guy, people who don't know him,
Oh.
who's a scout for the Blackhawks.
Unbelievable.
He didn't get his day for the cup. So at Jamal's party, Brooksy was there, but we called it Brooksy's cup party. Because nobody was having a better time than Alex
He's
Brooks.
the best.
He was
the
going
best.
absolutely
He's my captain in
insane.
Albany.
He was having so much fun, obviously, with the Stanley Cup. But to be able to win it, even at the time, and then now looking back with St. Louis, I mean, I'm sure it brings up memories just in terms of having that opportunity. Like that is something that you'll cherish forever. I mean, that is just an unbelievable experience to be able to win the Stanley Cup.
I'll be honest with you. I had resigned the fact that I wasn't going to win. And, I was 38 when I retired. So if we had lost, I kind of figured that, that was going to be the end. I'd come to terms with the fact that, and I talked to my brother about it. Every year I wouldn't win. It wouldn't be, and he would always tell me, it doesn't matter that you're a winner. And it didn't make sense until that last year. And I realized, even after I won, I realized something, that I was always a winner. And the reason why was because of the way I carried myself, the way I played, the way I competed on a nightly basis. It's a team sport. You can only control so much. So even though I was technically a winner at the end, I feel like, I was okay with it because I realized I was a winner all along in the way that you treat people and the way that you care about your teammates and the way you do things the right way on and off the ice. I think that's what I realized, when you finally won and exhaled and thought, wow, it's taken this long, but it certainly was worth it.
What does Joe Quenneville
like that
mean
attitude, by
to
the
you
way.
to give you that opportunity to bring you to Chicago?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I remember I'd had a decent year in San Jose the year before. I really wanted to make amends for not playing well in Toronto and having that experience go so poorly, and finished the year okay in Calgary. Had an opportunity to sign there, a 2-year deal, and for whatever reason, I just felt like I needed to go somewhere to try to win. And next thing you know, it's middle of August and I don't have a deal. And
Worst feeling in the world.
it was awful. But I do have to thank our good buddy here, Darren Pang, because we went golfing, and he had asked me how things are going. I said, you know what, this is like August 1st. I said, I'm thinking I'm going to Switzerland to play for Andy Murray and sign a 2-year deal there and just wind things down. And he ended up saying, hey, have you talked to San Jose? I'm friends with Doug Wilson from his days together in Chicago. And I said, no. So he gave him a call or a text, and apparently my agent had talked to every team. Apparently not this one.
Funny how that is,
Not
right?
San Jose. That's funny.
Funny how that works.
But he told you he had talked to every team.
for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So I ended up literally a week later, I had a deal with San Jose to extend my career, and we ended up going to the semifinals. We lost against Vancouver, but I was playing a big role in that team and had a decent year. And that summer, got a call from Mark Bergevin, who was the assistant GM with the Hawks, and said, hey, do you want to come to Chicago? So I was like, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
So they had just won the cup in 2010. They were looking to bring in some KG savviness.
Yes.
Good in
How
the
big-
room.
how
Should have
big-
stayed
Good in the room,
there.
baby. Good in the room, yeah.
How big were the Blackhawks when they were winning, those Stanley Cups in a town like Chicago, where they have so much history, winning experience? But I mean, the
It's
Blackhawks were unbelievably
It
popular.
was stupid. I remember when we won, and the guys were like, we're on the plane celebrating, and we had Wi-Fi, so we're looking at video shots from TV. Like, you could see down the street just lights and like miles and miles of
Waiting
people
for you.
and they're like, wait till you see what this week's gonna be like. And you're just like, I'm shaking thinking about it right now.
Oh my God, dude.
It was unbelievable. And then the parade of just miles of people is insane.
That city. It's special.
No, it is special. Who's the funniest player you play with? Give me, Jammer. You got so many stories from your experience, man. Give me some stories here. I mean, I know about your career and whatever. I want some stories. I know you played with some hilarious people.
I don't know, man, what kind of stories I can tell you, but I told this one on Chicklets, but I'll tell it again if you want me to tell it again.
Guys are gonna be like,
pretty funny.
Go ahead.
No, I remember I used to like wearing these gingham shirts, and this is like in the early 2000s. So we're playing in it's a morning skate. We're playing in Columbus. So I have to stay on the ice and do extra work, of course, even though it's a game day. So I get off the ice. Dougie and Billy were standing there with a few other guys, like looking through the corridor, and there's a table, a small table, little coffee table, that looked like it was a picnic table, and they had like a little stand and a sign that said "Lunch for one" for Jammer, with a place setting and a cup. And I walk in there and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm eating lunch by myself. Like, I don't get it. You guys saying no one wants to sit with me today? And they're like, are you serious? Look at the table. And I look and they go, look under the table. So I look under the table. It's my dress shirt. They had tied the arms together so tight it was covering the table. It looked like a tablecloth.
That shirt was probably like $400.
Exactly. Is it weird seeing guys you play with who are now like general managers in the National Hockey? I mean, you just mentioned Billy too, like, and he's one of the funniest people ever. And I asked him a few days ago, how do you balance that, like your personality with now you have to be serious running a team? I think that's probably not the easiest thing to do, but they just find a way. But are you surprised these guys have gone on to have the success they've had?
Not at all. In the two instances I think you reference are, Mark Bergevin, probably the funniest guy I ever played with, and then Billy was right up there as well. But there's also the other side that I certainly have a lot of respect for and understanding for, and that's the competitiveness and the hockey IQ and the acumen for seeing what's right and what's wrong and doing the right things. I think that's what makes them successful as executives, is that leaning on that. And also those guys in particular, had an ability to relate to fourth line guys like me, but also were buddies with the star players because, in Billy's case, he was a star player. But I think that was unique for them. That's made them being able to make the transition. And I'm sure when they're one-on-one and hanging out with their buddies, they have that same side that's still there.
How do you feel? Your head okay? Your body all right? But I know that you had a nasty collision with Joey Vitale when he's old. Were you out there too?
Yes.
You scared the shit out of me.
And his career ended because of, an injury.
I know.
Also, I was worried about both of you. You
I know.
both were laying on the ice.
Same fucking team.
It's like 6:30 in the morning. They're like, why did I get up to go play hockey?
That collision, and I'll just break. We all skate. A little competitive skate that we put together, and a lot of the guys are out there all the time. And Joey was on one end. I think you guys were on the same team.
We were on the same team.
And you guys hit each other, and it was one of those thump, and everybody stopped what they're doing. And I'm like, oh my god. But other than that, are you doing okay?
Yeah. I'm doing well. Obviously, general issues here and there. The biggest one probably was my neck. At the end of my career, hurt my neck, C5 and 6, so I have some numbness in my thumb. And but pretty clear. I like to stay active and do the thing, and realizing that I don't have to kill myself in a workout to stay fit and fit in my own goal fitness wise is to fit into my clothes.
Oh, I know.
And that's pretty much it. The
beautiful
vanity
clothes.
issue is gone. I'm not jacked like you.
I'm pretty jacked right now, but I'm also fat. So it makes you look more jacked when you put weight on.
What do you want to do? Like, I mean, do you like doing the television? Is that your future? Because like you have so much potential to do other stuff in the game as well.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'd like to get into the management side of things. I'm not adverse to getting my hands dirty and getting out there and scouting for a year, but I don't want to make that my career. I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of how the game's trended and where it's going. But also, one thing I think that gets overused is that this younger millennial generation can't be motivated, can't be challenged. Mm-hmm. I think that's a false statement. I think that what you have to do first is let them know that you care. And once you know them personally, and once they know you care about them, then you can challenge them. Mm-hmm. You're not going to scare them, but you have to challenge them, and you have to be hard on people, and you have to be honest. And I think that having that approach is imperative to having the group have a common goal. And Cam, you've been a part of successful teams as well. I think that when you don't have that authenticity, that where you're able to tell me that I haven't been playing well and it's not good enough, and my feelings don't get hurt and I go cry into the corner, I have to be a man and step up and say, you know what? As much as it hurts to hear you say it, you're right, and I got to step up and do it.
You're right. You have to be able to present that, though, and I think Craig Berube did a great job of doing that this year or last year as well.
And I think sometimes it's okay to have friction. friction between the coach and the GM, friction between players, and that friction, as long as there's respect, pushes you to get better.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Because there's a lot of guys. I was talking to Billy Guerin about this as well, and Keith Tkachuk. I mean, the other day I'm on the phone with Keith Tkachuk. He's driving to go scout a college game at Bowling Green University. I mean, these guys who made a lot of money, who are star players, but the idea that they don't work, people have no idea how hard some of these guys are working and where they're at 3, 4, 5 nights a week.
Oh, speaking of Alex Brooks.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, so these guys put in their time. They don't just walk away from their career and all of a sudden get handed GM jobs. Some guys do, but most guys have to grind it out.
I think you're right. I think that it's surprising to hear that he's doing that, but honestly, a lot of star players, they do get to go into these nicer positions. I think the key is for guys is to show a willingness to work, and I think that that's where they'll get the most traction and where they'll be able to have success.
Hey, before we let you go, you do a lot of community stuff in Chicago as well, right? I mean, people don't understand that side of it. They see you on TV in Chicago, know you're doing the broadcast work, but you also have another job with the Blackhawks doing a lot of community stuff too.
Yeah, we have 3 components to what we're doing. Thanks for asking. It's one of them's called GOAL, which stands for Get Out and Learn. We visit over 150 schools, usually CPS schools, Chicago Public School System, where we introduce ball hockey into their phys ed class. Over 100,000 kids get introduced to hockey a year. Of those kids, we then go in and we eliminate all the obstacles. So there's transportation issues. We go and we bus those same kids to the practice facility. We get them on the ice, introduce them to the game. They get to try skating for the first time. There's also a STEM component. So half the class would be up in the STEM, working on computers, learning about science, technology, engineering, and math as it relates to hockey. And then they'll switch, and the other kids will go on the ice. Of those kids that are interested, that love the game and think they want to try it, they can then fall into the Little Hawks program, where they get to try hockey with gear, full set of gear for free, 10 lessons at their local rink, and learn how to play the game. So are we going to build the next hockey player out of, and honestly, these kids are mostly African-American, Hispanic kids, never even heard of hockey. The first challenge is making them believe that it could be for them. The second challenge is get them out there, let them experience and enjoy it. But the most amazing thing is that they see that something else other than their little world is possible. And if it's hockey, that could be that conduit to help them get out of their situation or feel confidence about themselves trying something different. It's extremely rewarding.
That's real life stuff
Awesome.
that you're seeing, though, right? You're seeing some pretty crazy stuff, I would imagine.
Yeah, we go into some tough areas, sometimes you're like, I don't know if I should be here.
Yeah. But I love how you guys apply science and math into hockey terms.
Yes.
That'd be great for Cam, by the way, to go back to
when do
school
I sign up for this?
to learn some science and math. If you put it in hockey terms, maybe
Why do I need to learn science right now? I'm so far from that. Am I going to NASA? Am I? Lord.
No, great stuff though, Jammer.
Thanks,
man.
Jammer.
Thanks for coming in here and doing
Absolutely.
this, and keep up the great work.
And I gotta say, Cam is crushing it on the radio. I know you started a few years ago, and you've done a great job becoming a student of it and being honest, being yourself. And I think that's why people love listening to you. So keep it going.
Well, you haven't heard my baseball talk then, I guess.
you don't want to hear his baseball talk.
Oh, God,
either.
am I horrible. It's pathetic. But I appreciate that, man. I appreciate you coming on, too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
No
Jammer.
problem.
And that was Jamal Mayers here on the Cam and Strick podcast. Like I said, he's an interesting guy. I mean, he's got the broadcasting now. He can speak. He understands the game. And he could do so many more things than what he's doing right now. Obviously, he's having a lot of fun doing his thing with the
He's got a good gig going on right now.
If he ever wants to go in a different direction with his career and stay in
Absolutely.
hockey, I think he'd have plenty of options.
If you wanted
to,
to work up top somewhere and
He's a smart guy,
he's
man.
a very, very intelligent. He's kind of has it all. Actually, now that I think about it, just like Ryan O'Reilly, I don't like him anymore. He's handsome. He dresses great. He has a great gig. No, we love Jamal, and he told some good stuff. And again, he does some great stuff in Chicago as well. And he could probably do anything he wanted to do. But he's got a good gig going right now, working in Chicago, being somewhat sort of a liaison for the team as well. So he brought it today, and we appreciate him coming.
I love the stuff that he's doing in the community. I think there needs to be more guys doing that around the National Hockey League, and and there's a lot of guys who are doing great things, but he certainly is doing it in a big major city in Chicago. So it's great to catch up with Jamal Mayers, and we got plenty of guests on the way.
We got a lot more coming. A lot more coming. Of course, we want to thank the Normal Brand. Check them out at normalbrand.com. We got some more guys coming up soon. We'll keep you updated on everything. Appreciate you listening. Cam and Strick Podcast.